You should hear what keeps him up at night.
This is what keeps me up at night. I don't understand how my fellow Americans, I don't even understand how this election is close. And yes, I'm voting for you, but I would also vote for that wall over there.
Well, he's half right. We do need a wall. You know, to keep out gang members, fentanyl dealers, human traffickers, and Anna Navarro. What's funny, though, is that Stern actually thought that was a compliment. Stern has become such a wussified sycophant, he doesn't realize that telling Kamala that he'd vote for a wall is telling her that he knows she's as dumb as one.
Howard Stern built his name by pushing boundaries and going against the mainstream. But when Greg Gutfeld called him out, something unexpected happened. Stern had no response. No big rant, no sharp comeback, just silence. And people noticed. Gutfeld didn't just criticize Stern's evolution, he painted him as someone who went from rebel to part of the very system he once mocked. It turned into a moment nobody saw coming. So what happens when the original shock king gets challenged by someone even louder? Take a look.
But that's how Stern can call snacking with celebs at a fancy restaurant exhausting. Exhausting. Like he finished the overnight shift in a coal mine, or hearing Kat talk about her pets.
Fair.
But I get it, life is tough, especially when you've been cut off from the world for 2 years in a $20 million beach house. I mean, you have no idea how tiring it is walking all the way from the wine cellar to the tennis court and back.
Some TV moments disappear the second they happen. Others stick around and spark conversations everywhere. The clash between Greg Gutfeld and Howard Stern was one of those moments people couldn't stop talking about. It wasn't just a heated exchange. It felt like two completely different media worlds crashing into each other live on air. On one side was Howard Stern, a guy who spent decades building his reputation as the king of controversial radio. On the other was Greg Gutfeld, stepping right into the fire without backing down. And by the end of it, viewers were left debating who really came out on top.
But it is incredibly brave to take this stance after you've made $300, $400 million not being woke. Right? Loving Donald Trump, exploiting the mentally ill, wearing blackface. Look at the crop of woke comments, whether it's Stern or Jimmy Kimmel, his BFF, Sarah Silverman, Joy Behar, Michael Ian Black. What do they all have in common? They wore blackface. And then they went woke. It's not a chicken or egg thing there. You know what order it came. So I call this BFR. It's blackface reparations. There's nothing in Stern's previous career that could withstand this modern witch hunt that he now embraces. So this is a form of restitution. Maybe he says, you know, if I'm woke too, the crocodile will eat me last, but they always do eat. But I get it. He flipped from populist to elitist because now he's with elitists.
Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Howard Stern once changed radio forever. He built his career by saying the things nobody else would dare say. Loud, fearless, and completely unfiltered, he became the voice of rebellion for people tired of polished media and safe conversations. Whether people loved him or couldn't stand him, one thing was certain: everyone knew who he was. But being the king of controversy for decades isn't easy. Over the years, Stern started to change. Not all at once, but little by little, people began noticing he wasn't quite the same guy who built his name on breaking the rules.
I will say this, Dagan. I thank God for Howard Stern because he does make me feel normal by comparison. Because I'm like the Fox recluse. I don't do anything. I don't go anywhere. But he makes me look like, you know, Pete Davidson on a...
Yeah, he's a germaphobe. Like, his wife rescues cats. That's her job, apparently, her thing. But you can get toxoplasmosis.
That's true.
Cryptosporidiosis.
AIDS.
And
no, you can't.
No,
but
you can't get.
No, you can't.
But you can get.
I mean, what are the chances I get that again?
Like a lot of diarrhea related.
Howard Stern used to be known as the outsider who challenged everyone. Now, many people see him as more of a polished celebrity interviewer, spending time with the same Hollywood crowd he once mocked. The guy who built his career on chaos and confrontation started sounding a lot more careful and controlled over the years. And Greg Gutfeld clearly noticed the shift. Whether you agree with him or not, Gutfeld knows how to turn a TV segment into a showdown. His style mixes sarcasm, humor, and sharp criticism in a way that grabs attention fast. He's built a reputation for going after topics and public figures that others avoid. So when Stern's name came up during one of Gutfeld's segments, it didn't stay casual for long. What began as a quick joke turned into a direct attack on Stern's public image. Gutfeld painted him as someone who went from anti-establishment rebel to part of the very world he used to criticize. Take a look at this clip. I'll be right back.
On his radio show, Howard Stern defended wokeism, saying it's a compliment when someone calls him woke. Listen.
If woke means I can't get behind Trump, which is what I think it means, or that I support people who want to be transgender, or I'm for the vaccine, well, dude, call.
This wasn't just a quick joke or a random jab from Gutfeld. He came at Stern with a clear point to make. Instead of talking about him like a media legend, Greg framed him as someone who had completely changed from the person he used to be. His argument was simple but sharp. Howard Stern once built his reputation by challenging the system, but now he looks like part of it. And in Gutfeld's view, that's the biggest fall a rebel can have, becoming comfortable inside the machine you once fought against. What made the moment stand out was how controlled Greg was. He didn't need the shout. He stayed calm, sarcastic, and direct, while comparing the old Stern, unpredictable, controversial, and fearless, to the newer version that seems far more polished and connected to celebrity culture. That contrast became the heart of the attack. The same guy who used to mock fame and fake personalities was now being accused of fitting right into that world himself. Greg didn't overplay it. He just laid out the comparison and let the audience connect the dots. And for a lot of viewers, that irony hit hard. The former shock jock who once pushed against the Hollywood crowd was suddenly being painted as someone who had fully joined it.
But Stern being holed up in his house that long, it explains a lot of things, like how you forget how other people live, especially in hard times like a pandemic. For the longest time, 2 years in fact, the same time Stern's been AWOL, I wondered where he went. Not physically, but mentally. I bet you did too. Remember his screeds about COVID? They were epic and angry, and not to mention wrong.
When are we going to stop putting up with the idiots in this country and just say, it's mandatory to get vaccinated? F them, f their freedom. I want my freedom.
The man who once built his image around rebellion now seemed focused on something very different: acceptance. Acceptance from Hollywood, from big media, from the same mainstream world he used to push against. And that's exactly why Gutfeld's comments landed so hard. Gutfeld's whole style is built around challenging popular figures and going after topics other people avoid. So when he turned his attention to Stern, it felt bigger than just another TV argument. It came across like one outspoken personality calling out another for losing what made him different in the first place. What really stood out was Stern's reaction, or lack of one. There was no major comeback, no public blowup, no long response, just silence. And for a lot of viewers, that silence spoke volumes. Gutfeld didn't need to celebrate the moment or declare himself the winner. Many people watching felt the exchange already said enough. He painted Stern as someone far removed from the rebellious figure that made him famous years ago. The whole thing hit a nerve because it tapped into a bigger idea people recognize all the time: what happens when someone who once challenged the system slowly becomes part of it. And side by side, the contrast between the two personalities suddenly felt impossible to miss.
Even when I watch them on Saturday Night Live with the where they have Maya Rudolph playing you, I hate it. I don't want you being made fun of.
Oh my God.
There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now, I mean, as America, land of the free, home of the brave, I think it's literally on the line.
So a guy who's supposed to be funny for a living now claims her candidacy is too important to joke about. This is a guy who once joked right after the Columbine massacre that the killers should have raped the students before killing them. Not that I like that Stern, but this pendulum swing from saying the most tasteless thing in the universe to putting your balls in a Tic Tac container. You gotta wonder what's going on here. It's striking that the king of the most misogynistic humor ever now turns into a breathless over a progressive, hopelessly shallow candidate.
Howard Stern built his career in an era where breaking the rules came with real consequences: fines, bans, and angry sponsors. That pressure helped make him a legend. Gutfeld comes from a different world, using sarcasm, humor, and sharp commentary instead of pure shock value. Their clash felt bigger than just a media feud. It looked like two different generations of rebellion going head-to-head. But what made Gutfeld's criticism hit harder was that he actually respected the old Stern. The real jab was in the comparison between who Stern used to be and who many people think he's become today.
Happy Friday, America! Oh man, tonight is a special night. It's Feminine Friday, where all the panelists are women. Tonight we have Kennedy. Yeah! David McDowell. Kat Tim. And Janine Garofalo. All right. A long way for a meat joke. Okay, I hope you had a good week. I did, and no thanks to Howard Stern. True, the New York Post reported that Stern hit a chic restaurant in NYC with a crew of A-listers, including Jimmy Kimmel, Jennifer Aniston, Jon Hamm, Justin Theroux, Jason Bateman. I was not invited. I guess
Gutfeld's main point was simple. The old Howard Stern would never have respected the newer version of himself. The guy who once attacked celebrity culture now seemed comfortable being part of it, chatting with Hollywood stars instead of challenging them. To Gutfeld, Stern had gone from fearless outsider to polished media figure. And once that idea caught on, social media ran with it. Clips spread everywhere as longtime fans debated the same question. Can someone stay a rebel forever, or does everyone eventually change?
Stern got even more pathetic, wondering how she doesn't nap.
When you said you don't nap, I get it, because like what you've taken on is extraordinarily difficult. And I mean, do you feel the pressure of the moment in the sense that, like when I met you out in the hall, I said, I'm really nervous because I want this to go well for you. I want it to go well for the country.
Hold on. I need a minute.
It raised a bigger question for a lot of people watching. Does every rebel eventually become part of the system they once fought against? And once they get comfortable, do they start protecting the same world they used to criticize? Gutfeld's argument wasn't just that Howard Stern had changed. He suggested the change came from wanting acceptance and safety, not from some major personal awakening. The fearless broadcaster who once offended everyone suddenly seemed much more careful about what he said and who he upset. To Gutfeld, that didn't look like growth. It looked like giving in. What made the moment even more interesting was Stern's silence afterward. A guy famous for firing back at critics didn't really respond at all. No big rant, no public fight, just silence. And that left people wondering whether Stern simply ignored it, got caught off guard, or maybe saw some truth in the criticism himself. Let's take a look.
This definition of woke, it's if you call someone a know-it-all, you're not complimenting them on the breadth of their knowledge. Yeah. You're saying you don't know as much as you think you know. So, yeah, woke doesn't have anything to do with vaccines. What it really means is sort of a slavish devotion to left-wing ideology and then repeating it so you can get social credit.
Right.
That's really what it means.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're smarter than anybody. And he had said in another part of this that, because I believe in the science, well, if you believed in the science, you wouldn't be hiding out like Howard Hughes in your mansion. So
many longtime fans were left wondering what happened to the old Howard Stern. It wasn't just that he stayed quiet after Gutfeld's criticism, it was how unusual that silence felt from someone known for always fighting back. Meanwhile, Gutfeld kept pushing the point, and the internet quickly joined in. Clips and reactions spread everywhere, with many people agreeing that Stern no longer seemed like the rebellious figure he once was. What made the moment stand out was that this wasn't just celebrity drama. Gutfeld was challenging the legacy of a man famous for exposing hypocrisy and calling people out himself. And when someone builds a legendary reputation, people naturally compare them to their own past, sometimes more harshly than anyone else.
I always hate that argument, like, what happened to the old Stern, or what people have changed. That's not what this is about. It's a weird disconnect.
Well,
What?
he hasn't changed.
No.
People have been calling him insane for 40 years.
Yeah,
that just used to be, this guy's nuts. And now they're like, oh, we're worried about Howard. He needs help. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, though, I'm a little sympathetic because what you said is correct, but I'm also a germaphobe.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just have a smaller apartment.
Yes.
So it's like
The whole moment felt bigger than just a feud between two media personalities. To many viewers, it looked like a changing of the guard. Greg came across as the guy carrying the bold, unfiltered energy that Howard Stern once built his career on. While Stern now seems more polished and mainstream, Greg leans into sharp humor, controversy, and saying things others avoid. That's why the exchange connected with so many people. It wasn't really about politics, it was about authenticity, and who still feels rebellious in today's media world. In that moment, Greg looked like the outsider willing to challenge the system, while Stern appeared caught between the legend he used to be and the image he has today.
Striking that the king of the most misogynistic humor ever now turns into a breathless over a progressive, hopelessly shallow candidate. But maybe that's the explanation. This is Stern's self-imposed penance for subjugating women to demoralizing stunts, capitalizing on desperate females thirsting for attention, even if it's from an oily paddle striking their bare asses.
Fair or not, perception matters a lot in media. And after this moment, people started asking some big questions. Will Howard Stern ever return to the fearless style that made him famous? Or will he continue down a safer, more polished path? And on the other side, is Greg Gutfeld becoming the new voice for audiences looking for bold, unfiltered commentary? What made the clash stand out was that it felt bigger than a normal TV feud. To many viewers, it looked like a shift between two eras of media. Stern was once the outsider challenging everyone, while Gutfeld now seems to carry that same rebellious energy. No matter which side people agreed with, the exchange clearly struck a nerve. It felt like a moment where one longtime media figure was being challenged by someone newer, sharper, and still eager to prove himself.